Should Todd Bowles be fired? And should it happen this season? There's no question that Bowles' seat is red hot, and we discuss it right now. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And we thank you for making us your first listen or view of the day. I am James Yarcho, deputy editor of SB Nation's BucsNation.com, joined by my esteemed co-host, Mr. David Harrison, writer for Sports Illustrated's BucsGameDay.com. And of course, you can check out everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at DHarrison82.
Today's episode of Locked On Bucs podcast is brought to you by Simply Safe Home Security with Fast Protect technology, exclusively from Simply Safe. 24/7 monitoring agents capture evidence to accurately identify or verify a threat for faster police response. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Visit simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more. And we thank you again for making the Locked On Bucs podcast first listener, your first view every single day. Huge shout out to the nearly 8,000. I don't know if my math is correct as of right now, but I'm going to go with 8,000 people who have watched our live post-game episode and our regularly scheduled Monday drop that dropped at noon Eastern on Monday. I don't think it's quite 8,000, but it sounds like a good number, so I'm going to go with it. But either way, however many thousands of you out there did it, we appreciate you. Of course, we appreciate all of you watching, listening, however you're consuming Locked On Bucs and letting us be a part of your daily lives. We appreciate you all the same. What we don't appreciate is the job that Todd Bowles has done coaching this team this year, James. And we're not alone. A lot of people don't appreciate it. I'm sure Todd Bowles doesn't appreciate it. I'm sure Todd Bowles wants to be doing better as a head coach. Look, when Bruce Arians retired from coaching, stepped up into the front office, and Todd Bowles was named his successor, we were excited. The fans were excited. I mean, everyone was kind of like, oh, man, like Bruce is leaving. That's kind of weird. But for Todd, right, we were excited. All the media, I think, was excited. Fans were excited. The players were excited. That excitement has certainly turned on its head. And now the question is being thrown around, James. Should Todd Bowles be fired? And we're talking in season. Like there were people in our live. There are comments all over YouTube's, all over Twitter's, all over Facebook's that they want Todd Bowles fired now. Like Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals should not see Todd Bowles on the sideline come Sunday. What do you think about the prospect of Todd Bowles being fired in season right now?
I lean no, which might surprise some of our listeners and viewers, because I think they know I tend to be the more passionate.
Unreasonable? Oh, passionate. Yes. Passionate.
Wow.
We both really said the same thing at the same time.
You're really going to throw unreasonable out there. I was going to say passionate, and maybe I'm the more emotional.
Unrealistic. Emotional. Yes.
Of the two hosts. God,
emotional.
you're killing me, Smalls. But I say no. Todd Bowles should not be fired in season. Number one, it's not going to fix all of the problems that are going on inside the Advent Health Training Center with the exodus of Todd Bowles. It's flat out not. It doesn't matter who you put in charge. It doesn't matter who the interim is. And you could go ahead and say, oh, well, Carolina fired Matt Rule and now they're one game out of the division. No, it doesn't matter. Absolutely does not matter. This team's issues go beyond coaching. It starts with coaching, but it goes beyond coaching. And at this point in time, yeah, the Buccaneers are probably going to make the playoffs, but how far are they going to get? I mean, they're going to get probably bounced in the first round, get blown out in their own stadium, more than likely by the Dallas Cowboys. And then, they're gonna move into the offseason and we'll see where it goes from there. Not to mention, the Glazers don't fire coaches in season. It just doesn't happen. We've seen Lovie Smith be terrible. We've seen Greg Schiano be terrible. We've seen Dirk Cutter be terrible. We've seen Raheem Morris be terrible. They still didn't get fired in season. It's just not
Right.
something that the Glazer family does. So, yeah, it doesn't solve anything. Let it run its course, and we'll address it again, 2 months from now.
Yeah. So you're leaning no. I am standing firmly on the side of no. You don't fire Todd Bowles in season. And you don't fire Byron Leftwich in season either, for all the reasons you just said. It doesn't solve any of the problems because remember, this coaching staff is a collective. Like they all came together. Like Bruce Arians has already said he would not have come back to coaching unless he had his guys. These are all BA's guys. So they're all tied together. They're all in concert with each other. You know what I mean? And I just, it's not, when you look at the problems that this team has, are you going to bring up one of these co-defense coordinators, or you bring up Byron? Now you need a new offense coordinator. Like it causes more problems than not. And honestly, most often when you're replacing your head coach, I know there's been some weird interim head coach situations as of late around the NFL. You're doing it to you're essentially canceling your season. You're basically saying, okay, look, we're gonna think about next year in the future, and we're gonna move on with our franchise. So that's just kind of what it is. Look, the Buccaneers, I think they're going to play till at least mid-January, and that's saying a lot because NFL wildcard weekend starts January 14th. So, I mean, that's what you're going to get.
Mid-January.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best you can expect as of now. But look, I mean, is it still a very talented roster? Absolutely. Is it still a very talented coaching staff? I mean, the evidence says otherwise right now. But again, this is the same coaching staff that was here for the Super Bowl run, same coaching staff that got this team or helped lead this team to the divisional round. There is something going on in this coaching staff, in this locker room. And so far, nobody's figured out how to fix it. But you just have to hope that somebody's trying to fix it because firing everybody is not the answer. But James, how hot is Todd Bowles' seat as of right now? Like if the Buccaneers finish the season this way, playing ugly, winning some close late games and comebacks, losing some games really ugly. I mean, obviously, if this Buccaneers team enters the playoffs, I don't see how they get to the Super Bowl. Does Todd Bowles get fired if this product is what we see for the rest of the year?
I think that's contingent on Bruce Arians, if I'm being completely honest. And they are not going to fire Todd Bowles as long as Bruce Arians is working in the front office. And I don't agree with that. And I wrote as much in my pick six that dropped Monday morning. But, Jason Light needs to evaluate what's best for the team and put emotions aside. Yeah. So you can sit there. Let's say the Bucs lose Sunday to the Bengals, win their last 3 games of the season, win the division at 9-8, and squeak out a last-second playoff win against the Dallas Cowboys, make it to the divisional round, and they lose there. You could sit there and say, oh, well, we saw positive signs of where this team is going, and they're taking the right steps forward. No, those are still not the right steps forward because they took a dozen giant leaps backward in order to get to where they finished.
Right.
So I think under normal circumstances, a head coach that was set up with this level of talent on his team, not coming anywhere close to the expectations, the rightful expectations of this team, probably has like an 80 to 90% chance to get canned. Yeah. But I think emotions will dictate more so than reason. And I would put Bowles' chances of being fired at 25%.
I gotta say I agree with you. And not for a lot. I didn't really think about all the reasons you just said, but really the reason that I was kind of leaning towards is not just Bruce Arians, but also Jason Light. Jason Light is tied to this coaching staff as well. And we all said this when Jason brought Bruce out of retirement and came back, right? Go back to those conversations. What do we all say? This was Jason's chance. This was it. Like either this works or Jason's gone, right? And that was kind of the projection that we all kind of made. Not necessarily a desire, but just what we all thought would probably happen. Well, I kind of stick by that. And I think that this is either going to work or they're all gone, including Jason Light. And I don't know that the Glazers really want to do that because you're basically scrapping all of the goodwill that you've essentially built. And that's not how you want to end this type of a reign. Plus, if you look back at NFL history, right, we can look to the team that just whooped their butts, the San Francisco 49ers. Mike Shanahan has had several losing seasons with the San Francisco 49ers. And he's also had several seasons where they've been NFC Championship contenders as well. The NFL is an all ever evolving tide, right? The tide is always coming in or coming out on somebody else, and they've got draft picks, and you've got, I don't know, not a whole lot of money, but maybe a little bit of free agency money that you can go ahead and go out there and play with. I think it was Jenna Lane from ESPN pointed out that if Tom Brady signs elsewhere, the cap hit that he takes, or the dead cap that he carries for the Buccaneers in 2023 is actually less. If he retires, then it's a lot more. So if he goes to a San Francisco, New England, Miami, wherever he might go, the Buccaneers are actually financially in better position, and we'll see kind of how things go from there. So I don't think, as much as some people are not going to like hearing this, I don't think that we're on the path to Todd Bowles being fired. And honestly, should a head coach be given the benefit of the doubt and have more than 1 year? I think a lot of times you could say that, yes, perhaps they should get the benefit of the doubt and give more than 1 year. But if you're going to keep him, the company message from the top down has to be, that guy's our leader. Like, we got captains, we got leaders on the field, got it. The head coach steers the ship. And not just the message to the locker room, but the message to Todd. You got to steer the ship, brother. The players got to respect it. The players got to fall in line with it. They've got to voice their opinions as you let them, granted. But at the end of the day, what Todd Bowles says has to be what happens, because that's how BA ran this thing. That's how Belichick runs this thing. That's sure as heck how Kyle Shanahan runs this thing. So that's what's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, then I want to cast my vote for DeMeco Ryans, defensive coordinator for San Francisco 49ers, to be the next Buccaneers head coach. If that happens, James, there will be odds on betonline.net for Bucs fans to go vote for who the next coaching candidate might be, because betonline.net is mine, it's yours, it's everybody's number one source for sports betting, info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball, World Cup. They've got it all at betonline.net. If you think the Ohio State Buckeyes will go from non-conference champions to national champions, because that makes a whole lot of sense, by all means, go ahead and put some money on there, and the Georgia Bulldogs will laugh at you every dime that you put in there. If you love sports podcasts, which you probably do because you're listening to this one, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. Sorry, Evan. It's the truth, brother. Thanks again for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen, your first view every single day. Make sure you're also checking out Locked On Sports today. I'm sure that the San Francisco 49ers guys had a lot of fun on that show with Peter Bukowski after they laid the lumber down on the Buccaneers. You can find Locked On Sports today on this app or on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast. James, it's time to stash it and trash it.
Before we stash it and trash it.
Before we stash it and trash it, James, I think you have something to say. I can tell. I can see it on your face.
I just wanted to make one more quick comment regarding our conversation about Todd Bowles. Right. And you made the connection that I really wasn't thinking about, that if they have to admit defeat in Todd Bowles, that could cost Jason Light his job as well.
Yeah.
So something to think about if Brady moves on, if he retires, if he goes to San Francisco, if he goes back to New England, if he becomes the quarterback of, one of the Rocks teams in the XFL, whatever, Jason Light and Todd Bowles can probably buy time together, because at that point, that's when you're in full rebuild mode. Mm-hmm. So you are telling ownership, look, we are going to struggle for the next couple of years. We have to get out from all of the salary cap that we deferred in order to win a championship and go for another one. We have to find a new quarterback, because Kyle Trask probably ain't that dude. So there's going to be some growing pains. We have to stick with the continuity of the staff, of the front office, of the leaders that we're still able to keep on the roster in order to build this thing back up, and might buy himself and Todd Bowles some time from that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, draft Anthony Richardson, roll Blaine Gabbert for a year and see what you got.
Sure.
Chomp. Stash it and trash it time.
Yes.
I'm going to stash Deven Thompkins because, to be quite honest with you, he's pretty much one of the only good things that came out of this game. You highlighted Carl Nassib for a lot of effort, and that's great, and we love effort. We also highlighted Rachaad White, but even he had a fumble. So, I mean, even one of the quote-unquote stars of the game still had a negative in this game. Granted, it really didn't mean much at the end of the day, but it's just kind of indicative of how this game really went, James, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Todd Bowles was asked in his Monday press conference for positive takeaways after watching the game tape. And his response was, quote, Deven Thompkins was positive in the return game. I thought he did some good things coming out, end quote. That's it. That's the whole quote about good things coming out of week 14 after watching the film by Todd Bowles. So Deven Thompkins, let's stash that young guy.
Yeah, I am going to stash Mike Evans, and it's for something, David, that you pointed out yesterday on our postcast episode, and that was the fact that he isn't taking any flack. He isn't going to sit there and just be berated by his quarterback, regardless of his quarterback's status. He is a leader on this football team. He knows what he knows. He believes what he believes. He's out there playing hard and trying to help this football team. Doesn't mean the passes are always on target, and that kind of hinders his ability to help. But then once again, you turn around to Monday, and Mike Evans is talking about how he himself needs to be better. That's what a leader does. He's not pointing fingers. He's not throwing people under the bus. He is standing up, taking it on his own shoulders, saying, I need to be better. I need to help this football team. I need to help this team score points. And that's what leaders do. So Mike Evans, I don't care what Ross Jackson says. I know he likes to tease me about Mike Evans and all that. Mike Evans is the kind of football player that every fan wants on their football team. He is a great person. Yes. He is great in the community. He is great in the locker room. He is great on the field. He is a Hall of Fame player and person. And for that, we thank him.
Yep. The best number 13 to ever play in the National Football League. Yes, I'm talking to you, Dan Marino, because you can't grow a beard. At least I don't believe you can. You never have. Time for Trash It. That was weird. I don't know where that came from. But time for Trash It. My Trash It is going to be not activating Kyle Trask. Listen, towards the end of that game, guys, we were all thinking it. Why is Tom Brady still in the game? Not only are things just going terrible, right? But why is Mike in the game? Why is Chris in the game? You know what? Let's go out there. Where's Tyler Johnson? Is he even around anymore? I don't even know where that guy has gone, to be quite honest with you. But I was thinking about this. Like, you know what? You could pull Tom Brady and you could put in your backup. Keep Tom Brady healthy. Because listen, for anything that's going on, I hope we can all agree this team is better with Tom Brady than without, right? Like, I think we can all, at least I know it's not going great, but I think we can all agree on that, right? But listen, there is a question about Kyle Trask, and this question is he capable of leading this team into the future? And we've seen him take some preseason snaps, and those are great. But let's see him take some regular season snaps. And even that late game regular season snap, like, are the 49ers really going to go full motor after Kyle Trask if he drops back there and throws some passes? I don't know. You know what I mean? Nick Bosa, I have a feeling Nick Bosa really isn't going to care, so he's just going to go full ham on whoever's taking the snaps. But you can't put him in because he's not active, right? So, I mean, it's kind of hard. Blaine Gabbert is a veteran. I'm not saying he couldn't use the snaps potentially, but I would like to see if we're in a situation 35-7 and you're just not going to win this game, let's put Kyle in there. At least see how he commands the huddle, commands the line of scrimmage, gets his counts out, gets them on time, manages the play clock, do some of these other things that necessarily aren't attached to the shoulder, but they're attached to the neck, and then give him some chances to rip the ball out there, and let's see if that arm can come alive in a game situation. I might be alone on that one, but you know, it's kind of the best thing I could salvage from a game like that is at least maybe you could have gotten the opportunity to see what number 2 can do in a game situation.
I will say you're not alone in that. My boss over at Bucs Nation, your former boss back when you were there, Gil Arcia, texted our Bucs Nation group chat during the game and said #Trask season. So he wants to see Kyle Trask as well. In a game like that, why not? Except for the fact that he's always a game day inactive.
He's inactive, yeah. So he can't do it.
Yeah. All right, real quick, my trash it, the playbook. Offensive playbook, just put it in a rocket to the moon. It's the same thing in the same situations every single game. The 49ers nearly took one of those Chris Godwin wide receiver screens to the house because the Bucs only run it about 6 times a game. And they sniffed it out. They knew it was coming. The defender didn't catch the ball. Otherwise, we're talking about a game that was 42-7 instead of 35-7. And I realized there was the report on Monday about how Tom Brady sits down with the skill players and makes some tweaks to the game plan and yada, yada. That's great. But when you're making tweaks, let's say the playbook is a car, Okay. And it's like a 1981, I don't know, Volvo. And
it doesn't matter because nothing classic came out in 1981.
Exactly. Except for my wife. God bless her. So yeah, you gotta turn the car on with a screwdriver and you gotta rev the engine while you're also like flipping the blinker up and down and doing all these things just to get the stupid car to start. If that's what you're tweaking, it's not helping because the car is trash. So making tweaks to a game plan based off of a playbook that's already trash is just more trash. And I don't know what has happened to the creativity or the ingenuity of this offense, but it's stale, it's predictable, it's boring, and it hasn't changed. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Well, by that logic, Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich are both clinically insane. Coming up in just a moment, David, we are going to talk more about Bruce Arians and his role in all of this. So you do not want to miss that. But first, today's episode is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. And you're not competing against other people. It's just you against a projection available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you can watch, including the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's and women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, MMA, boxing, cricket, and more. Safe and fast withdrawals currently operational in over 30 states. Just download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's promo code Locked On, LOCKEDON, all one word. Enter that promo code in for an instant deposit match up to $100. Wrapping things up here on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Bucs podcast. And as we are recording this on December 12th, Bruce Arians was supposed to already be inducted into the Ring of Honor. He is a Super Bowl winning head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He, comes to 50% of the total amount of coaches to win a Super Bowl for the Buccaneers. Has the most wins as a head coach in a single season in franchise history. Overall, pretty good 3-year run. Now, that Ring of Honor induction was postponed because of Hurricane Ian and the questions surrounding whether or not the Bucs were going to be able to play their home game or not. And so he'll be inducted during halftime in week 17 against the Carolina Panthers. The problem now, David, is what we are seeing on the field is a direct result of Bruce Arians. We opened the show criticizing Todd Bowles. We've criticized Byron Leftwich. We have criticized pretty much everybody
to a certain extent.
We haven't talked about Bruce Arians' role in all of this. And you can point directly to the fact that he had Tom Brady walk back in that building and he said, "Y'all are good. I'm out." How different could this team be if Bruce Arians was still the one on the sideline calling the shots? I'll tell you how, because we have 2 years of history that shows us what kind of team they would be. They're probably looking at 9 wins right now, 8 wins, if we're being a little on the skeptical side, because they have had injury issues. They did have some key players leave in Ali Marpet and Alex Kappa. But I get the feeling, leaving the coaching staff alone, leaving Todd to just focused on the defense, having BA as part of the planning for the offense with Byron and Tom, BA taking and picking his spots on the sideline to say, you know what? No, go deep here. This is the spot. Take your shot. the team looks drastically different than it did over the course of the last 2 years. And a big part of that was Bruce Arians. And I understand Tom Brady walks back in the door. You still have, I don't know, 85, 90% of a Super Bowl winning roster. And you say, Todd didn't get a fair shake in New York. That team was real bad. He didn't have an opportunity. I have the chance to hand him the reins to a championship contending roster. I'm going to do it. In the process, you've torpedoed this team's probably last year of being able to contend for that championship. It was selfless and selfish all at the same time. Not sure how that's possible, but that's how I view it. And no one, not a single person, is talking about the fact that plenty of blame for how the season has gone started at the NFL owners meeting when Bruce Arians made that decision.
Yeah, that was weird. I mean, this whole season, and I mean, before the season, go back to February, technically, I think, when Tom Brady retired and then later he unretires and then Bruce Arians, like, this whole thing has just been weird. And honestly, James, it just speaks to not necessarily all negative or like hatred or like, offensive line versus Tom or Mike Evans versus Tom or whatever. But like there has been something off inside this organization since they got bounced from the playoffs. Honestly, there has been something off about the inside of this organization since AB jumping jacked out of MetLife. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know where again, we can speculate, you know what I mean? I dropped a speculative idea on yesterday's episode and God help you a lot. Some of you, well, I don't say bought into it because it is based on some sort of logic, but like you were like, hey, that sounds like it's feasible. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. But again, I don't know that that's what happened. I mean, when Bruce walked away, somewhere like, okay, is it actually because he hates Tom Brady and he doesn't want to coach him? I mean, I don't know. It's going to make one heck of a 30 for 30 someday, or a football life. Like Bruce Arians has a really good football life out there. Maybe football life part 2. We'll dive into this stuff. Tom's football life. Like, I don't know, man. It is a conundrum is what it is. But whatever it is, like, people on the inside know what it is. People, and I don't mean like the Greg Almonds of the world. I mean like the Todd Bowles, the Clyde Christensens, the Tom Brady's, the Jason Lights. Somebody, I don't care who, man, like Ryan Suckup. Somebody get a hold of this thing. Someone be the grown-up in the room and say that it's time to put whatever is eating this team from the inside out away and just focus on what needs to be done, because that's the only way this thing's going to get done. I can tell you right now, though, like with Bruce Arians we've had this conversation before, this offensive line situation with Bruce Arians. I mean, Tom Brady could be out for the season by now. But, if you ask a Bucs fan, would you rather be 6-7 with the offense you've seen? Or would you rather be 6-7 with an offense that's no risk it, no biscuit? I would probably rather be 6-7 with a no risk it, no biscuit offense. And you know what? If you're 7-6 because of it, even better. I have always taken the stance, and this is what I loved about when Bruce Arians got here. James, you'll remember us having this conversation. I would rather see a team, a competitor, go down competing than go down hiding. And we've seen this Buccaneers team go down hiding way too much this season. This team has lost its entire edge, its entire identity. And hearing Todd Bowles talk about we've got 4 weeks to figure out who we want to be. Again, I'll reiterate it. It is December 12th. If you don't know who you are as a team by December 12th, you are lost. You are Fox Special of the Week lost. Also, shout out to the 1981 DeLorean, named the worst car to come out in 1981, according to Motor Trend magazine.
Shout out to the DeLorean for being a timeless masterpiece used in Back to the Future.
Timeless masterpiece. That's a V6 with 130 horsepower that costs the equivalent of $75,000 in today's money.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The doors broke on pretty much every model ever sold.
Yeah, but I've also seen the DeLorean parades of all the people that have DeLoreans that do function, and they're all tricked out to look like they're from Back to the Future, and it's glorious. Yeah, it's glorious. Thank you, Back to the Future, for making the DeLorean cool. when it very much was not.
Just not functional.
The last thing I'm going to say on this before we get out of here, David, and it's something that my dad and I have talked about a couple of times. My dad also a big fan of your Mike Evans, Tom Brady theory.
I'm a fan of your father.
If we all remember the speculation and the rumors when Tom Brady returned and Bruce Arians stepped down, and there was the Florio over at Pro Football Talk was running wild with it. The national media was running wild with it. Is there a problem between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians? And they both said no, they love each other, it's great, and yada yada. But they're both saying it for the public face value of it. If there really was, and I'm saying if again, my own speculation, if there really was a rift between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, and a condition of Tom Brady's return was that BA stepped away and wasn't the head coach anymore, the question that I have for Tom Brady is, how's that working out for you? With that, we are going to get out of here. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or view of the day. For your second listen, check out the biggest headlines in all sports with Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I will be back tomorrow with our dude, Evan Klosky, for a WTSP Wednesday. But of course, in the meantime, you can check out everything that David is doing over at BucsGameDay.com. Check out what I'm doing over at BucsNation.com. And of course, follow everything on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, and at DHarrison82. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. And we thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.